What's up, guys, and welcome to Movie Emporium's Flashback Reviews, where I take movies from the past, break them down, and tell you what I think about them. If you like what you see, of course, hit the subscribe button, join Movie Emporium, hit the notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next, and of course, comment below on any video that you watch on my channel. So today I'm going to talk about a movie that I love to death. It's one of my favorite movies of the last 20 years, and it's a movie so odd and so unique that there's never been anything like it, and that's very hard to do, especially in this day and age. Everything is a kind of a copy 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 of a copy. Not saying things aren't original, but things of the nature of like a Harry Potter or Jurassic Park, there has been stuff done about these types of scenarios. And it's not saying that this movie doesn't borrow a little bit from like tropes and stuff like that, but the nature of what Charlie Kaufman and Spike Jonze did in this movie is wholly unique. And the fact that they got John Malkovich to basically be a participant of this, to use him as like the main thrust of the story, is fantastic. But before we begin into the story, Spike Jonze, who is very popular, has a niche audience now, has done some really fantastic movies, had been a music director. He had done a lot of famous stuff. You know, he had done a lot of Beastie Boys, you know, the Sabotage song, which he had directed. He did stuff with Weezer. He did stuff with Bjork. He also did a music video in this year of 1999 called Praise You by Fatboy Slim, and you remember that's handheld recording. It's like very low budget, but it was an incredible video. And he also starred in Three Kings as the he didn't direct it, but he was one of the actors in it who had, I think, had that eye patch or something like that. A really fantastic movie if you haven't seen it. But this movie, being John Malkovich, is 20 years old. It's a movie that I still watch to this day and enjoy immensely. And it has a fantastic cast. Once again, it's directed by Spike Jonze. It's written by the famous Charlie Kaufman. And it stars people like John Cusack, Cameron Diaz, Catherine Keener, who got nominated. It also has, of course, John Malkovich, who is the main person in this movie. It's got Orson. It's even got Octavia Spencer in a early role, I guess you could say. To kind of define this movie is really interesting because this movie is, like I said, it's kind of like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, where it takes a subject of kind of wanting to progress yourself, but infatuation and, you know, the love of somebody who you can't have. The fact that this guy, a character played by John Cusack, is just, he's lovelorn, he's kind of a schlub, he's just a character that just is really weird, but he pines after this Kathleen Keener's character, but he's married to the Cameron Diaz's character, which is really crazy that he's married to Cameron Diaz. But Cameron Diaz is so, like, you know, dressed down, and she's so frumpy that I guess I could kind of understand why he would go for the Kathleen Keener character. So that makes it kind of interesting. But the basic storyline is this. Basically, John Cusack plays he plays a puppeteer. He's a struggling artist. He can't get off what he wants to do. The things he does do with the puppets is not really kid friendly. It's kind of disturbing. And he's also married to the Cameron Diaz character, who's an animal rights activist. She's very into taking care of animals. They have all kinds of different animals in their apartments, which include dogs, monkeys, so on and so forth. And they're not doing very well. They're not, like, kind of not doing well as a couple. And John Cusack's character, Craig, eventually decides he's going to find a job. And he finds it in this regular office building. But what's weird about it is the office building is between two floors. So think of like platform 9 3/4 and something like that. But basically how you have to get into this office is you have to emergency stop the elevator and open it with a crowbar, which is where Octavia Spencer's character comes into play. She shows them how to open it. And the floor is half built. And the reason they did that is because the guy who started this company, had a wife that was a dwarf, a little person, and he wanted to give her something, you know, have her feel special, you know, have this place that made her feel special. So he built it at half size. And it's really, really fascinating to see because everybody who works there, of course, is tall, you know, normal size. They're always hunched over when they're walking around. And you get to see like the absurdity of this idea. And that's where he meets the Orson character, who is this like eccentric weirdo. And he's like always forgetful about things. And he says a lot of weird things, but it's such a fantastic character piece that you just almost love it. So, but that's where you meet the character played by Catherine Keener, who plays Maxine. And because of the relationship that Cameron Diaz and John Cusack have had, he falls for her. You know, Catherine Keener is a beautiful woman. She's very sexy, so he goes for her, and they develop a relationship. In the process of all that, it can't get any weirder, right? No, it does. This office holds a secret, and that secret is a door. And that door leads to a tunnel. And that tunnel is a teleportation device, or teleportation. We'll just go teleportation device to the mind of a particular person. And who is that person that we see through? John Malkovich. And John Malkovich is John Malkovich. He's a weird guy. He's very oddball, but he's fantastic in this movie. We see a lot of stuff through his eyes. Because John Cusack is a puppeteer in this movie, he's able to puppeteer John Malkovich's character into doing his bidding. And he becomes obsessed with being in John Malkovich. You know, he found a way for possibly Kathleen Keener's character to fall in love and so on and so forth with John Malkovich. So he devotes more and more time to being inside John Malkovich. And we just see the day-to-day of how John Malkovich is just he's an actor. He has his things. He has his tics. And when the Craig character uses John Malkovich to do his bidding, like I said, he pines for this Maxine character, so he uses him as a puppet, and he becomes like a play artist and a playwright, and it's just really fascinating to see. And then on top of that, they're using the character, John Cusack's and character, and Catherine Keener's character are using John Malkovich as a way of making money, so they're letting people go into John Malkovich to experience him. And so we get the storyline of how Craig is basically using John Malkovich, and it kind of like deflates the relationship of him and the Cameron Diaz's character. And because Cameron Diaz kind of falls for Maxine's character, there's a love triangle that develops, and they decide that they're going to use John Malkovich to kind of play and have fun, have sex, all that good stuff. But as things do, the John Cusack's Craig character gets really jealous, really upset. He can't handle the fact that, Maxine and Cameron Diaz's character are falling in love with each other. And there's just this really great scene where when John Cusack goes into John Malkovich's character, when he becomes a puppet, starts controlling him. John Malkovich all of a sudden turns into like this thespian. He wants to become a theater actor. He becomes a famous theater actor. And him and the Maxine character fall in love. They get married, all that good stuff. Everything starts to break down as things do. Relationships break down if you're not honest. And the Cameron Diaz character moves into John Malkovich and gets the Maxine character pregnant, and that she has a baby and all that stuff. But it's a very weird tale. There's a lot of weird stuff. Like Orson Bean tells the Craig character about how his character, Orson Bean's character, is not really his body, that he is actually the person who had the wife that was a little person, and he had found a way for a portal or teleporter or whatever into a different body so he can live forever. And if he doesn't get into the John Malkovich's body by a certain time, he will die, and so on and so forth, because he's old. And that's a very interesting use of character movement and character mechanisms to develop a story to kind of play off of it. And I love that. Everybody has their happy ending. The Orson Bean character, and he brings in a bunch of people who can live forever. Maxine and the Cameron Diaz character have a relationship, fall in love. They go off together, and they have a kid. And what happens? Craig, John Cusack's character, because he's so greedy and so full of himself, he's left alone, left with nothing, and he uses the child, as a portal to watch, Maxine and Cameron Diaz's character. It really is kind of depressing and sad because they're using it. John Malkovich is being used to no end in this movie, and he can't help it, and there's nothing he can do about it. At the very end, when we see John Malkovich, like in his 80s or whatever, we see him with Charlie Sheen. He talks about, I have a way for us to live forever, which is really funny. And I have to talk about another scene I consider the best scene in this movie outside the one I just talked about. So John Malkovich finds out that people have been using him, and he figures out where they've been using him at, where the portal is. And so he goes to that office, to the portal. He sees that people are going into John Malkovich's brain, his brain itself, and he sees Kathleen Keener there, Max Season's character, and he wants to know what's going on, as we do. And she's like, she doesn't know what to say. She's trying to call, the Craig character, and he decides he's going to go into this portal himself. There is no scene of any movie I've ever seen that is as wild as this scene. You almost have to be on acid or, weed or anything of that nature to really just kind of understand what's going on. So John Malkovich goes in the portal. He finds himself in his own brain. Okay? And so he basically sees himself everywhere. Every character, every person is John Malkovich. And they're basically just saying Malkovich the whole time. Everything on the menu, because he was up in a restaurant, it says Malkovich. Malkovich, I'd like some Malkovich, blah, blah, blah. It just keeps going on and on. It's basically what would happen if you went into your own brain and then everything just kind of just went chaotic. It reminds me now of a scene kind of in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I keep talking about where things get so weird and oddball and goofy and just chaotic that it just almost just seems perfect. It's just something you've never seen before. And the fact that you're seeing John Malkovich see himself in his own brain, it's like a weird acid trip of just insanity and just everything around him. And he's freaking out when he sees himself in a dress, dressed as a female John Malkovich. And it's just a bunch of Malkoviches. And it's an amazing scene. It's one of my favorites of all time. And it's just beautiful. And when he pops out, he's freaking out. He doesn't know what's going on. And he's trying to get answers out of the Craig character. But I love it. I think it's a great scene. It's something that is a highlight of the last 20 years of filmmaking. But that's basically the storyline of this movie, is people wanting to be a different person. Some people growing to love other people. And just the idea of the human condition. That's what Charlie Kaufman is really known really well. He's really good at doing, I guess you could say, is talking about the human condition and how we long for certain things, how we want to be certain people, and what we will do to do that, and how love is a very powerful magnet. I mean, you look at Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, for instance, it's the same thing. It's about heartbreak, it's about love, it's about longing, it's about people just wanting to connect, and the connection always sometimes breaks up. And that's what I love about this. But this movie, like I said, it got nominations for Spike Jonze and Charlie Kaufman, and of course Kathleen Keener. It's well deserved. I think I would have given one to Orson Bean for his eccentricities of his character, but this movie is just so much fun and so unique. The music's unique, the art direction's unique, the fact that everybody looks dirty and frumpy. It really gives you a sense of a world that is not really, it's more fictional than it is reality. And the fact that these characters are so well written for what we're getting is a fascinating tale. And like I said, this is the starting point for what Spike Jonze would eventually to go and do with stuff like Her. And it's just a fun movie. It's an R-rated movie, so there's a lot of language and nudity and sexuality. But it's just such a great movie. It does so much with its material. And like I said, it's so unique because think about it. We have a movie about relationships, but we're using the idea of a portal that goes into the brain of John Malkovich, or it could be anybody, but John Malkovich, who's one of the most eccentric actors ever to work, and it just works. It works so well, and like I said, it just does so much. There are moments in here where you just feel so weird watching them try to take over this character. When John Malkovich gets transformed into the Craig character, it's just the way his transformations happen, the way he snaps out of it. And he's like, what the hell's going on? And then he snaps back in. It's just awesome to watch. And it's just taking stuff like that, just using the interiors and exteriors into full effect. The fact that when they get booted out of John Malkovich, they land in the middle of a highway or the expressway or whatever you want to call it, is really, really unique. And it's just great. And like I said, to me personally, it's one of the best movies of the last 20 years, and it's also 20 years old, which is kind of funny too. But so that is being John Malkovich in a nutshell. Very, very complicated, very, very obtuse, but very, very well done, and very, very, it's just a great movie. So, but that's my take on being John Malkovich. If you like what you see, comment below on being John Malkovich itself. If you've seen it, let me know in the comments below. But like I said, hit the subscribe button, join Movie Emporium, hit the notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next. Of course, comment below on any video that you watch on my channel. But otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking out Movie Emporium. I really appreciate it. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button and the bell at the top. Find out what's coming next for Movie Emporium. Also, check out these 2 videos. They're amazing. I think they're awesome. I think you'll enjoy them too. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.